Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, I'm talking about something that I thought was just one of my own little quirks, not experienced so much by other people, until my best friend and I were returning from Paris one time, and we realised that we both hadn't actually thought about life after our trip. We could see as far as the trip, we were counting down the seconds to the trip, and we had lots of ideas and plans for the trip. But we hadn't actually wanted to concede that there might actually be life afterwards. Thinking about it, I realised that this is something that I do quite a bit. I've got a fixed moment in time that I'm working towards, but there almost seems to be a bit of a blank after this. It's not that I think time won't exist beyond that point. I just don't seem to have any connection with it. And as much as I sometimes think that me and my BFF exist in a bubble all of our own, it's made me realise that this is a bit of a universal phenomena. So what's going on here? The lilo's been deflated, the sand has been washed out of the clothes and the suitcase, because it always gets in the suitcase, and it's time to open our emails and get back to life. Bit of a nod to the Soul to Soul classic from the 90s there. Yes, I'm showing my age, but there we go. It's different to the Monday blues or the Sunday scaries. Choose your favourite description here. That's something that just creeps up on us at the weekend. What's happening there is we can see Monday beckoning. It's kind of peeking out just from round the corner. But the feeling that we are not seeing time beyond a bigger event, that's something that's more complex and more subtle. It's the struggle that we have to imagine life beyond a fixed point. So holidays, Christmas, big events. And it's more than likely that we're going to hit almost like a weird slump right afterwards too, as we come to realise that we are going back to reality. So let's think about this from a psychodynamic perspective. We can often use time as an emotional container. We're using these events as psychological boundaries. There's what we're doing before the event, possibly lots of planning and anticipation. And this is one way that we can attempt to control life in a very messy and unpredictable world. In this way, the mind can be quite brilliant. We have this event coming up which can take up huge amounts of psychological space, and so we can focus all our attention on what's coming up to that point, without ever having to acknowledge what might come up afterwards. On one of our trips away, my BFF uttered the fabulous phrase, here's that bridge I said I'd cross when I got to it. I just love that phrase. And it can feel like things are sneaking up on us uninvited. But the reality is, we just weren't paying attention to them. Either because we really didn't want to, or maybe we were feeling overwhelmed, and this was a workable way of managing things in our mind. Like I said, the mind can be brilliant here until it's not. We have no plan for what comes after the event, because in our minds, we just weren't seeing it. You won't be surprised to learn that we have some defences coming out to play here. We can dress up procrastination as planning. I'll sort that after the holidays. And this is one that definitely comes up around Christmas time. We've all seen the memes that start to circulate around end of November, beginning of December, saying things like, at what point does it become okay to say that this feels like a January issue or problem? Christmas is a big point in the calendar, whether you enjoy it or not. And there's also the clear divide of moving from one year to the next. And this works perfectly for our minds to concentrate on what's going on before Christmas and New Year and project everything else into the post-holidays period. We can almost feel that we're in charge of our lives in this way, when actually we just want to concentrate on the mince pies and panto. And this leads us nicely into the concept of splitting. Everything in the before event box needs attention, or maybe needs to happen so that we can enjoy the event, whereas everything afterwards is a bit of a blank. This can give us the illusion of psychological space, And the idea of, I'll be okay when I get to this point, is incredibly encouraging, isn't it? We've all thought, you know what, next week I'll be fine. I'll be okay next week. But when next week comes, there's something else for us to deal with. As humans, we don't like the idea of not knowing what's coming up or what's going to happen. It gives us huge amounts of anxiety. And it's one of the reasons why so many people turn to things like tarot or horoscopes to help them navigate what life might throw at us. I'm not being judgmental here. I've had my cards read more than once, and it was fascinating as an experience. We do this because we really don't want to go through what can be described as transitional anxiety. So what I'm talking about here is the unease of moving from one state to another. We aren't quite in the old. It feels like we've moved past that, but we aren't in the new just yet. It's a bit like the school summer holidays. The past academic year has ended, but the new one hasn't started. If you have children or have had children of this age, you might recognise the wobbly feeling that children go through towards the end of the summer holidays. As a parent, I dealt with my own transitional anxiety by going full on into denial. I denied that the holidays were ever going to end, and I never sorted their school uniform until the last minute. This hasn't helped. It's resulted in horrendous shopping trips where I swear I'm never doing this again, which obviously I do. And in one particularly bad year, I discovered that my daughter needed a new skirt on the first morning of school. Fortunately, she wasn't starting until later, and I was somewhat reassured when the school shop opened to find that I was not the only parent in the queue, racing in, hoping that the size that we needed was going to be there. September can feel like a bit of a new start for everyone. The back-to-school vibe is everywhere. It's been in the shops since July. There we are with our new pens, our new intentions. But when we think about it, we've got the same life admin to deal with. As parents, we can dream of me time. Oh, I'm going to have all this much time, all this much more time when they're back to school. But in reality, it's really an awful lot more washing and becoming the taxi service once the activities and groups start up again. When you think about it, sometimes the idea of a fresh start, particularly one that is calendar dictated, is a bit of a myth. Maybe we want our life to be different after the event, only to find it's not different at all. My invitation for you this week is for you to consider where in your life you choose not to see beyond a certain point. Recognise when you've made a date or event the event horizon in your mind. It can be helpful to plant something beyond it, maybe a small enjoyable plan that exists in the after, so it's not all doom and gloom to be denied. Another way to ease into life afterwards is to carry a few things over. In a very vacuous example, after my Paris trips, I really love wearing the new clothes that I bought there, as it helps me think that it isn't over, even though I'm no longer skipping up and down the Champs-Élysées. It's a way of keeping the trip alive. And, as always, give yourself some grace. This can be an ingrained way of thinking, something that we've built up over years, thinking that we're managing our anxiety, when in reality, it can add to the slumping feeling once the event or trip is over. Before we close, I want to share with you a couple of things that are coming up. In early September, which is pretty much around the corner now, I'm doing a webinar with Scott Warren around our defence mechanisms that come into play when we're thinking about pricing. This is always a tricky topic for us coaches. It's definitely worth coming along to that. Also, my course, Essential Psychodynamics for Coaches, starts again in September. So excited about this. The first round was fantastic. Fabulous group of coaches with lots of learning and discussions. I've got a huge group already, fabulous group of people signed up. So if you don't want to miss out, come and join us. Everyone is raring to go for some psychodynamic fun. Send me a DM or an email and we can have a chat. There's also my weekly LinkedIn Live sessions. I do these on a Monday afternoon at 2:30, so come and join the fun for those. Unless it's a bank holiday, then I'll have my feet up and I'll be watching a James Bond film. Looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. To have a chat about psychodynamics and find out more about the different ways you can work with me, either as a trainer, coach, supervisor or mentor, then click on the link that's in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.